In 30 seconds, you will be witness to one of the greatest online events in the history of, well, online events. Descript proudly brings to you a topic that you deeply care about and whose name is the title of this online event. I'm Don. I am not your host. I am an Overdub stock voice included for free with Descript. So, now, let's meet someone who actually works here.
Hey, Jack.
Hello, Harmony. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm in one piece. It's Friday, Junior. What can I complain about? No, it's
Junior.
doing well. How about you? How's it going?
Super, really charged, actually. We just got back from Las Vegas at the DevLearn conference. Just feeling very inspired by all of the different teams, instructional designers that we worked with, and yeah, just very excited to be sharing Descript today with this crowd. And we're only 2 weeks away now, even less from our big storyboard release.
Yeah, and we're going to be demoing storyboard to all of you today, so that's super exciting for us. So why don't we get started with some introduction? Maybe we'd start talking a little bit about. I know we maybe met a lot of you in Vegas last week. So excited to talk to you about training, learning, instructional design, some of the ways that people can use Descript for some of these awesome learning outcomes. But I guess to kick us off, I'll go ahead with an introduction. My name's Jack, and I'm your somewhat host today. Harmony, my co-host, is really the superstar of the show. So downplay whatever importance I have. I work on sales and BD here at Descript and work with a lot of our biggest teams. So hope to meet some of you over the coming weeks and learn about how we can help set you up for some cool workflows. Harmony, how about you?
Thanks, Jack. Jack's actually the real superstar here, but nevertheless, hey everyone, I'm Harmony. I'm a customer success manager and product specialist here at Descript. My background is in e-learning, so I am super passionate about working with L&D teams and using Descript to make your content accessible, engaging, and just really streamline the overall content creation process. So excited to dig in with y'all.
Yeah, and today we're talking about all the ways that you can use Descript to your organization. Like I said, we talked to a lot of people last week at the DevLearn conference in Las Vegas, which was for training and learning and internal development, instructional design, a lot of teams like that, and found out we have a lot of users out there in the world of L&D. So super pumped to share some of what we've got already and some of the things that are coming soon in Storyboard. Harmony, I think a good place for us to get started is to answer a couple questions off the top. One, this will be recorded and saved. Yep. You can rewatch it on YouTube. We'll also send you the recording. So don't worry about that if you got to drop off at any point. Hopefully you're just having so much fun that you ignore all your other responsibilities and just hang out with us for an hour. Also, there is a promo code for today. Learn 30. New subscribers get a month of Descript Pro for free. When you sign up. So that is super sweet. You can rewatch, and of course you can book a meeting with us as well. So like I said, my name's Jack. Just send me an email, jack@descript.com, Harmony at descript.com. Pretty easy to figure those out, hopefully. But yeah, we want to meet some more of you. So start off with a couple of those intro points.
One more thing, as you have questions, throw them in the Ask a Question section. Marcelo is rocking that behind the scenes. So throw your questions in there and we'll be happy to answer them.
Sweet. And we'll be running some polls today. We'll be asking some questions in the chat. So dive in. We'd love to hear from you and learn some more and show you the things that you want to hear answered. So, this is your hour. And we just love that you're spending it with us. Maybe let's get started with talking a little bit, Harmony, about our backgrounds and why we found that L&D teams have been really flocking to Descript. I know for me, I used to work in corporate marketing, so we'd partner with a lot of teams that were producing a lot of content about, a brand refresh, or HR needed new materials, or what was the right thing to use, where did this video need to go out. And so we partner with a lot of different teams and organizations, and that's one of the things I like about Descript. It's really easy to get feedback from other people, really easy to turn around content, and push that out to your organization, get that review and approval pretty quickly. But I know you've got a really deep background in learning and development, and would love to know a little bit more about kind of where you've seen it used.
Yeah, 100%. So in a past job, we used Camtasia for video editing. So I worked at a defense company, sat under HR, under L&D as a learning management administrator. We served about 14,000 employees, and we had to roll out, I would say, a handful of compliance training or compliance certifications every year. Those certifications had to be audited, refreshed based on new laws that were being passed. And so it was definitely a process to ensure that all of that content was staying up to date. In our case, we'd purchase a lot of off-the-shelf content but then it would need to be refreshed, whether we're using Camtasia or Rise or Articulate. So as you probably all are doing, you're using multiple tools. So it's like, where does the editing process fit in your workflow? So oftentimes I would record my webinars, bring them into Camtasia, cut them down, and then put them up into our intranet. We use SharePoint in our case, or otherwise you might be publishing it to your LMS. But that was generally the workflow. And I really wish I had had something like Descript, because, had to go into the timeline, pull out all of my ums and uhs, and it took forever. And so if I had had something like Descript, I would have been able to like edit that down in, half hour or less. So yes, very excited to be talking with teams about just making the process more efficient. But then to Jack's point, when stuff needs to get updated, we have this great feature called Overdub that will allow you to go in, correct a single word or a few sentences, get it up to date, and then just republish it back out without having to download, upload. So we'll go over all of that today in our demo.
Awesome. Should we go ahead and get started on the demo, Harmony, or maybe we should start with a poll first?
Let's do a poll. I want to know about who's in the audience here.
Yeah. So we'd love to throw it in the chat and tell us where you're talking to us from. How many people are you creating content for? How big is your team? Love to know just a little bit more about who we're talking to, and how we found out about Descript too. I think there's lots of great ways that we try and get in front of this audience, but you telling us how you found out about it helps a lot as well. So those are some good things.
And while we're waiting for some responses to come in, I think maybe we could speak a little bit to how other L&D teams are using Descript. So we work with awesome teams like UiPath, Akamai, Cloudinary, and I think in a lot of ways, Descript can help teams essentially kind of reduce their vendor footprint and bring more of their process into a single or just a few apps. But today we're primarily going to be focusing on team collaboration and efficiency, screen recording, because that's a big part of the Descript app, overall editing process, and then we're going to talk a little bit about our Overdub feature, which is our synthetic voice tool. So whether you're creating, training videos, internal podcasts, there's actually a really cool talk at DevLearn by Betty Danowitz, podcast bringing casual learning into your organization. So happy to answer any questions about podcasts. But yeah, excited to dive in. What are we seeing in the responses here?
Yeah, I'm seeing some awesome stuff. I mean, creating content for 500 people, 2-person team, a team audience about 40,000, content for over 118,000 people, team of 2, education worldwide, a team of 20 for 700 people. I love hearing these stories. 3-person team producing podcasts for 15 to 20 clients. I think this is like an awesome example of why Descript is such a good tool for what you're working on. Really helps you, punch above your weight, be professional in a way that and be efficient in a way that maybe was hard to do in the past. But yeah, love some of these answers. let's see, 3 people creating for 1,000 plus. Awesome. I think
Wow,
that's a
very cool.
great show of how big these audiences are going to be. So hopefully we can teach you some new things today. We've been kind of chatting with you for a few minutes. So why don't we pull up the app, get started. If this looks new to you or different, don't worry. It's storyboard. It's coming soon. You can actually test it out right now in the app. So don't worry about that. Or if this is the first time you're seeing it, welcome. There's a bunch of awesome new features here. But Harmony, why don't we just get started with setup and the way this looks and feels?
Absolutely. So, and for anyone that's just completely brand new, if you're like, what is this thing called Descript? It's a collaborative audio and video editor that works like a doc. So if you can use a Word doc, most likely you can use Descript. So we're going to start with just kind of getting you oriented by what happens when you log in, where you land. So this is essentially kind of your 30,000-foot view of everything that's going on in Descript. So over here on the right, and this is what we call our drive view. So think of this kind of as like Google Drive almost. Over here on the right, you've got all of your projects, all of your folders. This is where all of your content exists. Over here on the left, you've got some filtered views here. So recent projects, it's pretty self-explanatory. Quick recordings, that'll be your screen recordings. We'll talk about those in a little bit. Projects that get shared with you. So the great thing is that, Jack and I can be collaborating in this drive together. He could share something with me, and then I could quickly go to that project that he needs me to look at. We're going to talk about voices too. So this is our Overdub feature. You can set up as many voices as you'd like. We also have a feature coming called templates. So you're able to create templated, bumpers that you might put at the beginning and ending of your training videos. So we'll talk a little bit about those. And then we also have this concept of what we call workspaces. So you've got a team workspace and you've also got a private workspace. So one thing when considering, setting up your drive, first you're going to invite users, right? Because we need to add in our team members. So as the owner of this drive, I can add either what we call a basic member or an editor. Jack, you want to explain the difference between the two?
Sure. So a basic member is kind of like a comment only member. So if you've used Google Docs or Google Drive, that's probably the best comparison I have for you. Is that a comment only member? Maybe it's a subject matter expert, or maybe it's someone on the marketing team or an HR professional. Somebody who is responsible for reviewing and approving what you're creating, and just can comment right on those things, those pieces of audio, those pieces of video, slides, visuals that you're creating, give you feedback right there. That's a great way to use a basic seat, because there's somebody who doesn't necessarily need to edit in Descript, which is where the editor license comes in. That's would be somebody like on your team, an instructional designer or a video editor. So an editor would be somebody who needs to get in, bring in content, transcribe it, edit it, cut it up, export, create podcasts, visuals, audiograms, whatever they might be. But those two license types can be really helpful in getting Descript into kind of all corners of your organization and help collaboration be really quick and easy.
Absolutely. And it's super easy to maintain all of the membership permissions. As the owner, I can go in, change someone's permissions to a basic to editor, and then that might free up an editor seat that I can allocate to a different instructional designer or team member. And then I can add new members from here as well. One thing that you can also do, in considering when you're setting everything up, you can set up a folder structure that's going to make the most sense for your team. So you might create folders for, different certifications that you're working on, or different subjects. So really easy to just set that initial structure, and then you're essentially kind of set up for success from here. So you know where to go and how to access specific projects when needed. We'll also talk a little bit about how to add folks just to individual projects. So right now, we've been talking about adding folks to your entire drive, but let's say if you're working with a consultant or subject matter expert that only needs access to a specific project, you can give them access to individual projects. We'll show you how to do that in just a sec. Another thing that you can do when configuring your overall drive, I'm going to go into my settings here. You can set a drive icon. And so when you create and publish out video content, you can essentially have it branded by adding that icon here. Jack, anything else about like the sort of branded elements that get published out?
Yeah, I'll also say changing the team name drive, because like when you set up a subscription, if you're setting it up for your team, you can see this is Harmony's team drive. Um,
Mhm.
it's great to change that to, you know, the whatever your team's name, so the Descript L&D drive or whatever that might be, just so everybody kind of knows when they get that invite that they're in the right place, and that they're creating things that the team can then share back and forth among them. These are questions that we get a lot. You know, where do I create these things? How do I use the folders? What's the difference between these workspaces? But hopefully, with some of these folders set up, some of these, your team in the right place, you can just have people jump in, hit create new project, and start creating right from scratch.
100%. And then the last thing I'll say while we're in this view is, going back to this concept of workspaces. So for things that might be containing, sensitive material, you can always keep that in that private workspace. That way, if there's any security or privacy concerns, you can, keep it out of that, public shared workspace and keep it in that private workspace. Jack, anything else we should mention before we go ahead and dive into a project?
One thing to know is if there, maybe this is just good to talk about it with kind of storyboard and Drip Classic just in general, is if you're
Mm.
testing out storyboard, like I said, it's available for testing right now. You can still use the classic version. You'll still be able to use classic for a while, but not everything is in storyboard yet. So there's a couple of features that have not yet been fully transitioned over, or there's a bug here or there. We're still ironing everything out, and we'll release it to you once it's just as good as classic, we promise. So if we run into any bugs or you're running into any bugs, hit up our support team. They are super, super like helpful with this kind of stuff. We have a live chat there. But yeah, just wanted you to know that at the beginning, because every now and then we get questions about specific bugs or things like that. But with that said, let's dive into creating some projects and making some stuff. Yeah.
100. Yeah, let's do it. And for anyone that wants to try out Storyboard now, just go to descript.com/storyboard and you can sign up for early access. It looks like the link was shared, so hopefully y'all are already checking it out and underway. Okay, so in this case, I've created a project in advance. And so all you have to do is, in the case of creating a storyboard project, click New Project. I'm going to go ahead and open up the project that I created in advance. And I'm actually going to start from scratch. I want to see a blank composition. So here's what you'll see when you create a new project. This is the layout. So it kind of looks like a blank Word doc almost, right? So you'll see that you have a few options when either bringing in pre-existing material or if you're ready to actually just start recording right away. So in this case, I might give this a title. I'm going to call this 7 tips. And let's actually do that again. New composition, 7 tips. And I can either choose a file to transcribe, so I can pull this off my desktop, or I can start recording right away. We have a built-in screen recorder where you can record audio, camera video, or a screen recording. I can also start writing. So this is what I love about Descript is that like you can actually use it further along in your pre-production process. So if you want to write out a script for, let's say, a quick tutorial, and then you could essentially use it as a teleprompter while recording in, that's an option there. Or you can also start from a pre-existing template. We're going to show you a couple different things. We're going to start with just uploading a file. So all you have to do is drag, in this case, I've got an MP4, drag that right on in. That'll kick off the transcription process. it's pretty fast. There are 2 speakers here, and I'm going to say, and that'll start detecting our speakers. And I'm going to leave this in English, but we do support multi-language transcription. So if Jack and I were having this conversation in German, I could say German and it'll transcribe. I'm going to say done, and I'm going to identify my speakers. This will give me a little modal here where I can listen back to the folks that are in the recording.
So let's go ahead and take a look at using highlights, folders, and markers.
All right. So welcome to Descript.
And that's Jay, and we'll close that. And then what we'll get now is we've got our video all ready to go. And we've got a script now. We've got our transcription over here on the left. And the magic of Descript is now that I can start editing my text. And then when I make changes, it'll make changes to the underlying audio and video. So if we wanted the video to start here, where Jay says, "Hey everybody, I'm Jay LaBeouf," just highlight the text that you want to get rid of, hit delete, and now your video will start here.
Hey everybody, I'm Jay LaBeouf, Head of Business Development at Descript.
All right. And the cool thing is that, for example, we're noticing some ums, uhs. We can clean all of this up. We can, make corrections to the transcript without affecting the video. So I might quickly correct this. That way it'll be correct in the transcript without affecting the video. We'll get into all of sort of the editing workflow shortly, but Jack, do you think it's also worth creating a quick screen recording just so folks can see that?
Yeah, for sure. We know that this is one of the big reasons that people come to Descript is creating those recordings, updating those recordings. Maybe a lot of you are using Camtasia. Would love to hear in the chat about what other editing tools that you're using too. But yeah, this is a great way to bring things in, keep things up to date, and the screen recorder can help you. Actually, a lot of cool new bells and whistles with it too, like an AI powered green screen ability. But let's just start with the simple stuff first.
Awesome. So I'm going to hit record, and then I can choose, if I want to do audio only. In this case, I'm going to do a camera recording, so straight to the camera. Or I can also do a screen recording too. So if I need to do some VO over some slides or PowerPoint, I can do that as well. The really nice thing with our updated screen recorder is that it's now a multi-track screen recorder. So if, let's say, you're creating tutorial videos and something changes in the UI, you'll be able to keep your audio and replace what you're seeing on the screen or vice versa. So it'll make it much easier to go in and make corrections and keep things up to date. In this case, I'm just going to record quick video here. So this all looks right. I'm going to disable my computer audio. Got my MacBook microphone, and I'm going to use FaceTime here. So I'm going to hit record. All right. Today, I'm here with my colleague, Jack. We're talking about how to streamline content creation for learning and development teams, and we're super excited to be here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and push stop. So now we've got this glorious record, and I can, no one needs that at the very end, so I might get rid of that. I might, once I've got my recording, I might go in and, add things like captions and other, elements that are going to enhance my original recording. So super simple to, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and there you go. All right, today I'm here with so first off, I think since we recorded this in my living room, we might want to touch up the sound a little bit. Jack, how do I do that?
Well, use our AI-powered tool called Studio Sound, which makes you sound just like you're in a podcast studio. And I love this too for L&D teams as well, because maybe you haven't got the best, highest quality recording equipment. Maybe somebody has sent you a screen recording or a video, and they're recording it off their laptop mic. Studio Sound makes it really easy with just one click to clean all this up, make it sound a lot better, just with a couple of clicks, and you don't have to do heavy audio processing. So I think this is one way to make all of your content sound much more consistent and much better in a pretty simple way. And Harmony, maybe we can show it off.
Yeah, let's see here. Let's hear it with it off. All right, today I'm here with and let's turn it back on. I'm going to turn the intensity up to about 80. My colleague Jack, we're talking about how to streamline content creation. So it's sounding really great in my headphones. Hopefully everyone's getting the effect, but as you can tell, it brings up the proximity effects. It's sounding like I'm talking up close to my great MV7 microphone. So it's perfect for cleaning up any background noise and getting you to studio quality. There's some other audio effects that you can check out, but studio sound is my go-to effect. But we also have compression, EQ, and some other creative audio effects that you can add in here. All right, Jack, should we talk a little bit about sort of some of the benefits of collaboration here?
Yeah, for sure. Also love this comment in the chat. The multi-track screen recording is awesome. Love being able to move the camera video around after. Super glad to hear that. Yeah, I know a lot of people are using tools like Camtasia and ScreenFlow. Check out our screen recorder. There's a bunch of awesome tools in that. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about collaboration, because let's say I've done these screen recordings. I'm working with somebody else. Maybe I've cleaned up their audio using Studio Sound. How do I collaborate? How do I do review and approval? This pre-production process, I think, is so important because you're trying to get that feedback before you push it out to everybody in your organization.
Exactly. Yeah. And so maybe, in this case, I was working with Jay on this 7 tips video for producing a podcast. And I might go through and maybe do like a really quick rough edit. Like I might go through and using the star menu, remove my filler words, and that might be it. And at that point, I'm ready to pass it off to Jay or Jack for a review. The thing that I love about removing filler words is that you don't have to get rid of all of them, but definitely, maybe the uhs, ums, and some repeated words, and then just hit apply all, and that will zap, in this case, 147 ums, uhs, and repeated words. So super time savings there. So at this point, I might be ready to pass this off to Jack and have him do a listen through. So all I have to do is, let's say we want to use our commenting feature. Might want to grab his attention here in this particular section. Use the comment option. Jack hasn't accepted my invite yet to this drive, so I might
Sorry.
No, but what you can do is, Jack, should we add a lower third here? And then he'll get notified when I mention him that he's been mentioned in this project. He can pop in, he can respond, and we can have that, sort of back and forth, just like you would in a Google Doc. So it makes it really easy to collaborate together in this project while being able to comment. So if I wanted to give him access just to this project, I'd come up here, invite him, and I can give him either edit or comment only access. But since I invited him to my drive as an editor, he'll be able to edit anything that is stored in my drive. But this is a good opportunity to show that if you need to give someone individual project access, you can come up here and give them edit or comment only access. Jack, anything else you'd say here about sharing up projects?
No, I think this is a great way to when I publish those to pages as well. That's another option available. Maybe we can go into that in greater detail in a little bit. But I think being able to bring people in and see these comments right on the video, I've heard about some really painful workflows where people have to export this out and then type the time codes of what they think, hey, about 2 minutes in, he says this, no, just bring someone in as a basic member, have them comment on these projects right here, and give you the feedback right in the places that you need it. Those are the ways that we see teams be really effective and start to speed up their process really, really quickly.
Awesome. Right. And then I can close out my comments just by clicking there. Fantastic. A couple other things, oftentimes we get a lot of questions related to transcription and the overall accuracy of things. So there's a couple little things that you can do to get it closer from that 95% accuracy closer to 100. So we talked about, going in and making a simple correction to a single word, just highlight, use that C key or correct option. But we also have, what's cool is this built-in transcription glossary. This allows you to essentially train the AI to improve over time. So if you have acronyms, terms that you use in your day-to-day that the AI transcription might miss, here's your opportunity to enter those in. So I might even just add in, my last name, different company products that you might be bringing up. Anything else, Jack, related to the glossary here?
Yeah, I think this is huge for companies that, what you're bringing in and the topics you're talking about are really specific to your company. So we've seen great success with product names, acronyms, all those things that you mentioned, just help making that transcript even that much more accurate. There's also some other things that you can use behind the scenes too. So the ability to what we call detect transcription errors. So it'll point out the words that the transcript is not sure that it got right. So that can help you clean up a transcript really, really quickly. You can also order a white glove transcript where a human will transcribe it for you. So lots of options, because I know accurate transcripts are critical for these teams. Accurate captioning, also really important. So here's where to order a white glove transcript in Storyboard. Order it right from the file. So there's lots of good ways to make sure that these are accurate. Harmony, also, while we're here, I want us to show off some of the new storyboard effects, the visual effects, maybe add some of the templates, some of those things like that. Let's kind of show off some of the bells and whistles of storyboard now.
Excellent. So the first thing that you'll notice over here in the top menu is this media icon. So as Jack mentioned, this is where you'll see all of the files that are related to this project. So this is where all of your raw, unedited files will live. So you'll always be able to go back and access those. In addition to that, even more exciting is our stock media libraries that have been added. So we've added stock video footage, images, and you can go in between stock photos, illustrations, and Unsplash. We've got Jiffy stickers, backgrounds. So depending on let's say you've got a webinar that you created in Teams or WebEx, and you just want to bring it to life a little bit. You can also add in music. So I think we've actually got sound effects in here too. Yeah. So just enter in a keyword. So in this case, I might, let's say we're talking about editing like a Word doc here. I'm going to add what we call a scene. So the way I describe scenes is it's a way of creating edit points in your script, in your video, without having to go down into the timeline. So all you do is hit the / key, and that'll create a scene. And it's a nice way of breaking up your content, kind of like almost viewing it like a slide presentation. Jack, how else would you describe scenes?
I think the other thing is, if you're used to a timeline-based editor, scenes just, as opposed to shifting around all these layers, your timeline looks like one of the Great British Baking Show cakes. It's got just all these layers and layers and layers of stuff on it. Scenes help you keep things organized into different segments without having it be this mess of layers. So I think it just, in terms of bringing everything together, scenes allow you to set a target, drop things right on top of that video, and then move on really easily. You don't have to constantly be moving things around. So I think that's maybe the point that of why we kind of built scenes, was to be able to edit and move around your audio, and then have your video be in the right place too, is also why they're like that. So a little bit more like slides, but makes your timeline hopefully a little bit less messy.
Absolutely. So in this paragraph here, I'm mentioning using Descript like a Word doc. So maybe I want to pull in some B-roll of a document. So just find that media that you want to add, and you literally just click on it, and then it'll get applied to that scene that you had selected. And so this is I think a good opportunity to talk a little bit about the timeline. So by default, it'll just show the selected layer that you're working on, but you can also show all layers. So if you're doing something fairly complicated, you'll be able to see all of the different layers, elements that you're adding to your script. So it'll transition from here.
Edit your audio and video as simply as editing text. So we use the Google Docs analogy a lot when we talk about Descript.
Right, so it'll just seamlessly transition from that previous scene into the new one. We've also got some really cool effects that have been added, but you can also just do simple, basic, fade that in, fade it out, but maybe you want it to, animate in. So from here in the properties panel, I can go in and add, let's say, some effects. I can change the color adjustments, or as Jack mentioned, we could green screen something that I recently recorded, or add in some animation. So lots of different options once you've got your core piece of content in here.
And also do things like add captions as well, right?
Absolutely. So here's my favorite way. Like once you've got your transcript basically corrected and you've gone through, all you have to do is select all your text, just like you would in a Word document. Use our favorite keyboard shortcut, Control or Command K. And that brings up our conductor. This is how you tell Descript what you'd like to do. So whether you want to jump to a specific time in the video, or jump to a marker, or in this case, add captions. So I'm going to type in captions, and they are fancy because it's Descript. So fancy. And now it's automatically burned in those captions, and I can move these around. I can change the font to match my company branding. I can change the fill color. I can add a border, a background, and I can also go in and add, let's say, like an active word color. So maybe I want to change that a little bit, make it a little more transparent. Cool. So you can play around with that, and then
Go ahead and go to descript.com.
might want to move these to the top because we've got some little lower thirds popping up. So super easy to move them around. And then if you've gone through, you've created this version, this landscape version, you can then take this and change the orientation by coming up here to the three dots. Maybe you want to create a version of this, or even just pull out a snippet and throw it on Instagram or TikTok. You can go in and change that format. So really easy to go in and make those changes as needed. Jack, should we talk a little bit about pulling out, particular sections, I know repurposing comes up a lot. And then, I should mention templates before we move on. That's important. Thank you, Marcelo.
I think templates are really, really huge for teams that are making a lot of video content too.
Yeah.
Because, maybe you've got a bunch of this stuff that exists in the past. So maybe you've created custom templates for, for your presentations, for your social media, for whatever that might be. I think the good thing is we've got a lot of different options for you.
Absolutely. And so you can create your own custom templates. So that'll show up here under my templates. I've got a few in here. I've created a few backgrounds using Canva, and I've added some music. I've also got a couple different templates for little social snippets. And then we also have a gallery of some pre-baked templates if you're not quite sure where to start. So you'll be able to see some backgrounds, you've got some annotations, different overlays. And for those folks that have been using Descript in the past, this is where audiograms have been moved. So if you're like, hey, where'd these go? Just go there. And you'll notice we also have some new templates that have been built into the audiogram section as well. Awesome. Yeah, and I think
the audiograms are a good example of how Descript can help you really repurpose content really quickly. So maybe you're taking a longer course and you're turning it into microlearning, or you're taking an internal podcast and you need to promote it. There's lots of ways that I can go from something longer that I've built, clip off the sections that I want, use some of those templates, and then use a big long recording and start to go a million different places with it.
Absolutely. So if I've got, let's say, a lecture in this case that I've got it's fairly long, and I just want to pull out this particular section here, all I have to do is highlight that text, and then we can do a couple of things with this. But what I can do here is by clicking on the three dots, duplicate to, This is previously known as clip to composition. I'm going to do a new composition. I'm going to open that up. So I used to do this all the time. I used to do like hour-long webinars, and I would want to cut it down to, let's say, like a 40-minute version, or even like a little, even a 5-minute version if it was just for someone that needed to understand like a key part of the system. So now I can take this excerpt and then apply a template. I'm going to go to this template here, drop that in. And it's going to ask me to match the orientation because this was previously landscape. There we go. And this isn't Petra, so I'm going to update this to J.
What role will you play in this industry? We're going to introduce you to the roles, responsibilities, and day-to-day skill sets of a variety of roles in the industry.
So see how easy that is? Like, I didn't have to go in and layer all of those elements in. I was just able to drag it in and apply it with a single click.
I mean, I think that's so awesome. Like go from a Zoom recording or a Teams recording right to something that looks like so slick and professional. Just is a pretty powerful workflow there.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And so this example here, was shot professionally, but, let's say you've got a Zoom recording, that looks like something like this. You do the same thing, just highlight that text, duplicate it too, or you could also use our highlighting feature. So for example, I might want to just take this section here, and then I can come here and highlight it, and highlight that salmon, and then I can then use this magic menu to copy those highlights. And then I can create a new composition and just paste that in. There we go. It's as simple as that. So copy, paste your media.
I like this question too, Harmony, because about repurposing. Can I remove the video of recording if all I need is the audio? So maybe I want to take this that was on video and I want to push it out as a podcast or an audiogram or just something like that. I can go back and forth between the mediums, right?
Totally. So all you have to do is go to the 3 dots, and we're going to switch to audio only. Okay. And so now we just got our audio.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jay LaBeouf, Head of Business Development.
So then you could take that and turn it into an audiogram, and super simple. And if you're like, wait a second, I want an audio and a video version, I might want to switch back to video, and I can come here and I'll call this 7 tips video version. And I'll go ahead and now duplicate this. And duplicate comes in handy for a lot of reasons, but here's one. So duplicate this. And we're going to call this the audio version. And then we're going to switch it back. And then even if you wanted to like take this and just have captions, let's say for all of this, I can highlight all, add my captions in, and that'll immediately add, that video element back in. So lots of different possibilities there. Cool. Jack, where should we go next?
So let's say I've taken all the stuff, I've created it all in Descript. Maybe I worked with my partner in crime, whoever that is in the organization, to make sure that it looks right. How do I get this like final review and approval? And then next step, how do I start to export this out and get it out of Descript into the places that I might need it to go?
Great question. So I'm gonna get my video version back here. I'm gonna switch this to video. And when you're ready to get your material out of Descript, you're gonna go up to this publish button here. And you've got a bunch of different options. Let's actually start with our export option. So you can export, obviously, video. You can do audio as well, GIFs, timelines, transcripts, and subtitles. So starting with video, you can go in, adjust your settings, you can bring up the resolution if you need to. You can, if you need to export a project that has, let's say, an entire series of videos, you could say all compositions, it'll export them all. If we were to switch to audio, go into your settings, same thing, adjust the quality as needed. You can also change the format as well. You can do M4A, WAV, MP3. The thing that I use often is if we go back to here, I want to just get the transcript out. You might need to just send a transcript to a subject matter expert and make sure everything's in line and in compliance. By default, it'll be a docx, but you can change the format here. Alternatively, if you also need, the captions to upload those into your LMS, you can switch to subtitles and you can export the SRT or VTT file. And I assume with a lot of folks that are here, you're probably, needing to, upload into your LMS. You need the captions, and maybe you also, export that transcript to also make that available in the description section. So we know learners learn in all different ways. So best to, arm them with, various formats. Jack, anything else about this export tab we should mention?
I was going to say with timeline export, I know a lot of people, maybe you are working with a creative team or you need that extra level of detail in Premiere or Audition or Final Cut. This I think is a really common workflow that we see with teams is they've cut everything down in Descript. They've got that review and approval done. How do I get this into to Premiere?
Yeah, absolutely. So you would choose that timeline export option, and then you have a bunch of different options here, but you would choose Premiere and then export. That'll create an XML. And the beautiful thing is that Descript is a non-destructive editor. So you'll get your edit that you've created in Descript in Premiere when you import that XML. But since it's non-destructive, if you need to, make any final nudges or get any particular sections of the original recording back, you just drag it out since it's non-destructive. So that's kind of the beauty of it. Is that what you're hoping for there, Jack, with that question?
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people use the Creative Cloud already. So just know we play well with the Creative Cloud. We can do well there. I also liked this comment in the chat. I did not know that you could export just a transcript. That's going to be amazing for blog posts. Super, super glad to hear that. Yeah, it's really easy to export that out, use it for search engine optimization, use it for a blog post, use it for, whatever else you want to use it for. So thank you for that. Also, Harmony, we got another good export question. How do you export in formats just for Instagram or just for Facebook or just for LinkedIn? How do I change the properties to get these into the right places?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to this fantastic template here. So just go to the three dots and you're going to go to your video settings here and then switch either from landscape, portrait, or square. And then, when you adjust the video settings, you might need to rearrange your elements a little bit. I'll leave this on square since it looks so nice in that format. But then once you've got it adjusted for the different platform that you're wanting to export to, then just go up to publish again, export, choose that video export, and it'll download that file locally to your machine. Jack, did I get that right?
Yep, exactly right.
Well,
also, I would think one thing that's great to show is that you can use the same content for different formats too, because it's so easy to change the way the layout looks, either with the templates or with just changing it around from landscape to portrait to square.
Absolutely. And so we didn't talk about publishing. Can we bring that up real quick?
Of course.
Awesome. So one other option here in exporting is this publish option. So this will generate a web link. So this is for all of you that might be uploading your content to SharePoint or intranet. The nice thing about this, and I'll use that current frame, and you can show it'll be a video player plus your transcript, and you can turn that on or off. Also great for review and approval too. So if you just need to send a link to someone, get them to review it, leave some comments, and then at this point, I might I'm going to decrease my size just a little bit. There we go. Publish. And then I'm going to share my entire screen so y'all can see this. There we go. Cool. So I'm going to open this page up. And so here's what I'll get. I'll go to this URL. And once it's done rendering, I'll be able to watch it here in my browser. And it'll follow along in the interactive transcript. And I've actually got one that's already published, so I might as well just pull that one up. We'll do, there we go. This one's already been published. So I've got my video. And it's funny now, like I really prefer to watch my videos now with a transcript. Like I feel very spoiled, but now it's like it makes that, content that much more sticky. So this is a great way to just take that file, and then you could embed that via an iframe into your intranet. And then when things need to get updated or make changes, just go back into the project, update it as needed, republish, and then it'll automatically update in your wherever you have it embedded. So that's, I think, the real power here of that publish page.
Yeah, I mean, especially we hadn't really even talked about Overdub yet, but the ability to bring something up to date with Overdub and then republish it right to that place. You can leave it in your LMS. You don't have to worry about are things going to get updated. But Harmony, maybe we can talk a little bit about Overdub. Actually, let me ask to answer one question here quickly. We talked about XML export into Audition or Premiere or whatever else. Does it copy the template graphics? Yes. So if you created a template, it'll come over into Premiere with you. Fancy captions, it won't. So that's one thing to know. You could bring the SRTs in, adjust that there. But I thought that was a really good question for those of you interested in that workflow. And then I also love this learning focus comment. Love exporting based on the markers. Such a fast way to create chunked content for learning, little micro learning classes or something that you might stick in Rise or something like that. Some cool ways to create stuff there. So thank you all for these cool comments. So glad to hear it's working for you. All right, I'll stop interrupting you now, Harmony. Let's talk about Overdub.
No, this is so good. So as we mentioned at the top of the hour, so Overdub is our synthetic voice tool. So you can create your Overdub voice with as little as 10 minutes of training. So you can either record into Descript or upload pre-existing audio or video of your voice. And then paired with that will be a voice ID. We'll ensure that those two match. And when you press submit, that'll create your Overdub voice. Once it's ready to go, that you can actually start using it. So you just simply type in the text that you'd like to hear your voice say, or one of our stock voices. We have about 8 or 10 stock voices that you can use. And the really cool thing is that you can share your voice if you'd like, and you have to expressly share it with your colleagues. So Jack was kind enough to share his voice with me. I created a short audiogram here, just kind of explaining some of the fun things about Descript for L&D teams. So I think everyone is probably excited to hear your voice, Jack. So I'm going to go ahead and play this now.
Well, Descript is made up of a full suite of features. Here are the ones that really empower training and learning professionals. Make your content accessible. You can easily add captions to an entire.
So I literally just typed these words in. And so if I wanted to add some additional material, just add enter.
Stay.
Actually, and this is good, I need to switch to write mode. So this is good. Good learning moment. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar. So you literally just type it out, and then it'll generate that audio in your voice. You'll see it underline in blue shortly because it takes just a moment to generate that audio, but it's as simple as that once you've got your voice created. Jack, what did I miss?
I think the other good thing about Overdub is we showed how you can start from scratch here, but it also enables you to fix things that have been, maybe a stumble, maybe a change, maybe, you've had to re-record the same thing over and over again. That's all done with Overdub. You can take care of that with Overdub. That's a huge workflow addition. Well, I think one other thing worth talking about, Harmony, is stock voices and styles, and some of these ways that you can get maybe a little bit more, maybe, this overdub voice is great, but I need it to be a little bit slower, or I need it to sound a little bit different. What are some options I have to control overdub?
Totally. So first and foremost, like as I said, you can create as many voices as you'd like. So I have a version of my voice on my new microphone, the MV7. I have one on an older microphone, the one that was just built into my laptop. So that's an option there to kind of play around with dialing in the quality. But as Jack mentioned, you can easily, go from one voice to another. So if I wanted to hear this in my voice, I can just simply switch it to mine. I've set up some different what we call styles. So as Jack mentioned, if you want to hear someone's voice that's, maybe a little bit more fast paced or a little bit slower, or, where someone sounds, a little bit more monotone or excited, you can create what we call styles to change that overall effect of that overdub voice. And all you have to do is to create that style. Let me go into something that we had a little bit earlier. So we would highlight some text, overdub, and create a new style. And it associate that with my voice, and then you would just label it like, Jack, Jacksat. We'll do Jacksat. Create it, and then that'll be in your arsenal of overdub styles. As the other thing that Jack mentioned is that we also have, I'm going to go back to this one here. We also have a bunch of stock voices as well. So if you scroll down to the very bottom, you'll see a nice variety of male and female voices. You can audition each of them to kind of hear what they sound like. My favorite is Dawn. I'll give you a little tidbit here.
Life is like a camera. Just focus on what's important.
Got Nicholas, which is worth playing for the upcoming holiday.
Life is like a camera. Just focus on what's important.
Love making Santagrams every year. So you can pull from different stock voices as well if you don't want to hear your own voice, which is my case all the time.
Oh, and I think a great thing is, like, sometimes people will record something for you and they don't necessarily want their voice being used. You can take the text that then you've transcribed with Descript, and then you can create what they've said with the stock voice, right? So somebody might be self-conscious about, the way they sound or something like that. And stock voices give you a bunch of flexibility to make things sound great. So, and I love some of the comments we got while we're talking about overdub. It's great for those minor updates of education content from term to term. Yeah, totally great idea. Things are changing all the time. So this is a great way to use it. Like I said, in the corporate environment, maybe somebody's name or the UI or whatever has changed. That's a good way to use it. I love this example too. It's great for testing a course VO script before investing in recording. Yeah, use those stock voices, use your own voice, see how it sounds, see if it's something that like matches your brand tone of voice, and then use that script, once you've kind of written and tested it to record it. That's a new workflow that I love hearing, as opposed to sitting and reading it yourself. And then Harmony, we got a good question too. I have some background noise on my overdub voice. Can I take that away with studio sound?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, once you create that voice, just run studio sound and it'll fix that right up. And I think I saw another good example for this. It's a great way to record or put down some scratch text. So if you're just, like you said earlier, like just, write it out and then hear it in your voice. And if you're like, ooh, I really need to cut this down to 3 minutes, you can then go in and make some modifications as needed.
Yeah. No, so glad to hear about all the ways that you're using it. It's a useful tool and creates a bunch of different possibilities for workflows that I know we use all the time too. So, Harmony, we're coming up on the top of the hour. Anything else that we need to know before we wrap up here?
So a couple of things. First off, thank you everyone for joining us and staying through the hour. We'd love to stay connected with you. So join us. Check out the recording after the event. We also have a Discord channel and a group specifically for teams. So would love to have you join there. There's a lot of great back and forth with different folks that are using Descript and troubleshooting and getting inspiration from one another as well. The other thing too is, if you're a new user, use that code that we provided at the beginning, learn 30 at checkout. That'll give you a free month of Pro. And we'd love to meet with you. So reach out to Jack and I, and we'd be happy to schedule a time with you and your team.
Yeah. So my name's Jack. Send me an email, jack@descript.com. Would love to talk to you about the way your team is using Descript or wants to use Descript, your problems, headaches, hopes, and dreams. We want to spend this time with you too, because we hear a lot of these things from people that we talk to, but your workflows are specific, and we love to meet with people who are getting hands-on and helping them solve problems. So would love to catch up with all of you. Other couple of things to run through quickly. If you're looking for help, our help page is amazing. Our chat in the app is really useful. And if you got feedback requests or things that you want to see specific, let us know. We always want to hear that from you as well. So, and if you're looking to work with us too, I might as well throw up our careers page as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, you can spend time with Harmony. Maybe, Harmony's awesome. Maybe me, not so much, but Harmony, anything else that we should chat about, or should we let everybody get on with it Thursday?
Yeah. Happy Friday, Junior. If it's lunchtime, go get some lunch. And yeah, we'd love to see you at our next webinar.
All right, everybody. Well, with that, we will pack it in. Thanks so much for your time. Let us know. We always love to help out, and love for ways that we can make these webinars better and more impactful for you. So thanks for spending some time with us today. Have a good week. Have a good weekend. And we'll see you again soon at our next Descript at Work.
Bye, y'all.